Support for Focus Black Oklahoma comes from listeners just like you. Keep this podcast funded by giving online at donate.kosu.org.
Wake up and start your day right when you subscribe to the KOSU's daily newsletter. Each weekday morning before 8 a.m., we send you the top headlines from our newsroom and beyond, including the biggest NPR stories. Don't miss out, get informed, and stay connected when you subscribe to our daily newsletter at kosu.org/newsletters. That's kosu.org/newsletters.
This month on Focus Black Oklahoma, join us as we discuss how immigration enforcement has stoked fears and concerns in Enid's Hispanic community.
Learn about the new Turning Point USA chapter on the University of Tulsa campus.
Continue our coverage on the nonprofit working to protect the Spring Creek watershed in northeastern Oklahoma.
Discover the global influence of America's pastime at the World Baseball Classic.
And hear from Sondra Slade about every woman's favorite topic, menopause.
Focus Black Oklahoma is sponsored by the Black Church Traditions and African American Faith Life program at Phillips Seminary, offering a master's degree in social justice online and in person. Learn more at wherefaithleads.com.
This is Focus Black Oklahoma. I'm Jacob Littlebear.
And I'm Dr. Autumn Brown.
In communities across the country, questions about immigration enforcement and civil rights have grown louder in recent months. For many Hispanic and Latino families, those questions are paired with something more personal: fear. Venson Fields takes us inside a community forum where frustration, uncertainty, and resilience met in one room to ensure community voices are heard.
On March 5th, a town hall meeting, the Poro Comunitario Hispano, was held in Enid, sponsored by the Garfield County Hispanic Coalition. The coalition came about due to rising concerns and fears of persecution, racial profiling, and alleged illegal detainings in the Hispanic community by the Department of Homeland Security and the Immigration and Customs Enforcement operating in Hispanic communities throughout the country, also known as DHS and ICE, respectively. The chairman of the coalition is Diana Hernandez, a communications coordinator with the Oklahoma State Department of Health. I learned of the coalition's existence at the Cultural Connection Summit in October, where people from Black, White, Hispanic, Native American, and Marshallese communities all came together to share opinions about the state of people of color in Enid and to gather ideas on how to improve the affected communities. Hernandez shared how the coalition came into being and how she got involved.
Well, in 2024, during the summer, my job requires me to do community outreach, and I heard about another Hispanic female, Raquel, who was thinking of putting together a Hispanic coalition. We have a Micronesian coalition, and the chair of that is Terry Mote. I work with Terry Mote with the health department. So when I saw Raquel at an event, I approached her and I asked her if she was thinking of spearheading a Hispanic coalition, that I would be interested in supporting her. And in October, we had our first Hispanic coalition meeting at the Triangle Tower. My parents are immigrants, so I see firsthand how concerning things are for them and how they hope that things can turn around. They've been here in the United States for a life. Really, they built their lives here, and their children's and their grandchildren's lives are here. So this is home for them.
Hernandez explained how some members reached out to the Oklahoma State Latino Caucus after hearing of a town hall meeting that took place in Tulsa.
A member of our coalition, Consuelo Dominguez, and her daughter, Carly, went to the Capitol to have a meeting with Michael Brooke Jimenez. He is with the Latino Caucus. And we had and he's also an immigration lawyer. Interestingly enough, during a recent event, he actually spearheaded my mom's case, and that was over a decade ago. He was someone the Hispanic community felt trustworthy, and since he was with the Latino Caucus, we knew that we could bring concerns and questions to him directly, and then also trusted to get some answers. Sometimes with politicians, you know that there is some language that they have to avoid, but we knew him personally, and we knew that he would be frank with us. And that meeting happened in February.
Also attending the town hall meeting were two state congressmen, Oklahoma State Senator Michael Brooks Jimenez, who represents District 44, and Oklahoma State Representative Arturo Alonso Sandoval, representing District 89. Both districts are in Oklahoma City. David Mason, the mayor of Enid, was also in attendance. Brooks Jimenez, a practicing lawyer who was first elected in a special election in 2017, mentioned his top topic was state overreach regarding immigration.
I think my number one issue has to do with the state of Oklahoma overstepping its bounds and trying to address things that are traditionally federal government work, which is immigration work.
Brooks Jimenez called out two bills in particular directly related to immigration in the form of tracking requirements.
Well, I think currently there are two House bills. And so there's House Bill 4422 and 4423, which are both bills by the Speaker of the House, Kyle Hilbert, that basically want to create tracking and requirements to report people to ICE who apply for public benefits, who either apply for SNAP or different types of public benefits.
The Latino Caucus, along with Brooks Jimenez, also got involved in what were called legal clinics and standby guardianships.
Last year, the Latino Caucus, we were able to do two different legal clinics. And so the idea was to be able to get law students to be able to volunteer, to be able to help families to gain some stability if they're undocumented. And so what we did is we were able to prepare powers of attorney so that people can designate who would be in control of their possessions, but also standby guardianships to designate in case something happened to them, who would be responsible for taking care of and making decisions for their kids.
Brooks Jimenez then brought up detention facilities, which aren't getting enough press.
Well, unfortunately, in state government, due to federalism, the fact that we can't necessarily tell the federal government what to do, it's difficult to be able to hold ICE accountable on a state level. One of the bills that I'd come up with, and forgive me, I don't remember the bill number, but is to be able to hold those detention facilities, those private prisons in Oklahoma accountable for the conditions that they're holding people when they're in federal detention for ICE. And so as a result, it passed unanimously out of committee last week. I think I have strong support and a good chance to be able to make that happen so that basically state officials as well as religious leaders can go and make informal inspections of those facilities.
State Representative Arturo Alonso Sandoval has a mechanical engineering background and was first elected in 2022. And Sandoval hasn't just sat on the sidelines. Through conversations with his constituents, he has made their issues a part of his growing agenda.
You know, people care a lot about having a strong quality education system, making sure that the economy is working well for all families, and given that most of the families in my district, well, I do have one of the districts with the largest population of families below the poverty line. That was top of mind, making sure we have jobs that can really help support a family.
Although immigration is far and away the most important issue, Sandoval noted other important issues as well.
We're 50th in the nation in education. And I would say trying to make sure that we provide more resources to our educational programs, educational institutions, paying teachers more, making sure kids have more opportunities with extracurriculars, and making sure that just people are adequately resourced to provide a quality education for our kids. Education, I think, is foundational to anything and everything. So that'd be one of the big things I would want to provide. And also wanting to make sure that we find ways to really lower the amount of cost going on to ratepayers for energy. Because, you think about artificial intelligence, data centers, energy. There's a huge demand because of data centers wanting to come to the state of Oklahoma. And right now, families, small businesses are having to be burdened by the cost of new infrastructure. We got to make sure that these large companies, these data centers, these hyperscalers, they should be the ones to pay for these new infrastructure costs, not people that aren't using more energy.
In the end, the Foro Comunitario Hispano offered a chance for the attendees to voice their opinions to people who can take their concerns back to the Capitol, despite not being in their district. The congressman gave encouraging statements, explained possible avenues to address immigration issues, while answering questions in both English and Spanish. However, several state bills could still negatively affect the Hispanic community. Senate Bill 2056 would double the remittance tax to $10 plus 3% for all foreign wire transfers. Senate Bill 1850 would require employers to verify legal residency. Senate Bill 2098 would eliminate automatic citizenship for children born to non-citizen parents. Senate Bill 2073 would prohibit state agencies from using H-1B visa program employees, a federal visa program for college-educated foreign workers, or optical practical training program employees, a federal program allowing foreign students to study in the United States in their field of study while continuing their education. Senate Bill 2076 would prohibit state government contracts for companies that use H-1B or OPT employees. All of these bills were authored by one man, Oklahoma State Senator Dusty Devers of District 32. For Focus, Black Oklahoma, I'm Venson Fields in Enid.
On college campuses, student organizations often reflect the political conversations shaping the nation beyond the classroom. At the University of Tulsa, a newly chartered chapter of Turning Point USA is beginning to do just that. FBO's Jess takes a look at how the campus community is responding.
As of the 2026 spring semester, a chapter of Turning Point USA was chartered as an official student organization by the Student Government Association, or SGA, at the University of Tulsa, or TU. The national conservative nonprofit described its mission as, quote, promoting free markets, limited government, and traditional American values among young people, end quote. Here is Nathan Rabinovitz, a freshman from Texas studying engineering physics at TU, with more information on the club's principles.
Turning Point USA aims to just sort of bridge the gap between students from different perspectives, different ideologies, different backgrounds, and create an incentive and a safe environment to, foster an open discussion, an open civil discussion, and just allow people to share their ideas. And it also acts as a support system, a community for young conservatives on college campuses to, make the impact that they would want to make on their community and just sort of give them the resources and help necessary to do that.
For some students on the TU campus, the group's arrival carries weight beyond politics. Turning Point USA, founded in 2012 by conservative activist Charlie Kirk, has built a national presence on college campuses. It has also drawn criticism for rhetoric and policy positions that some students say feel exclusionary, specifically around issues involving LGBTQ rights, immigration, and cultural identity. Aristotle Orsini, a sophomore from Bixby studying political science and media studies at TU, discusses another perspective.
We have so many queer clubs on this campus. And I can absolutely see, something getting taken out of context, an event going, a simple event meant to bring people together, getting blown out of proportion by TPUSA, God forbid, the Queer Media Club has an event where they read to children, right? Suddenly, the Queer Media Club is indoctrinating kids into left-wing, transgender, gay ideology, and that's a national news story. The Queer Media Club is shut down. All of those people are harassed for nothing.
According to the official website, Turning Point USA has nearly 800 plus college chapters and is, quote, the largest and most impactful movement for promoting freedom-loving American values, end quote. On the website, people may find the Campus Freedom Alliance, which, quote, was created to connect activists from other freedom-minded college organizations by providing an opportunity to donate, request free activism supplies, receive on-campus assistance from TPUSA field team, and participate in TPUSA activism events, end quote. Information on Blexit, a student movement for HBCUs created by Candace Owens for the purpose of encouraging Black Americans to lead the Democratic Party, promoting freedom, economic independence, and nuclear family values, can also be found. Here again is Rabinovich.
So, as it stands right now, there are not a lot of clubs for conservative students. And so I think that Turning Point just sort of creates that environment where conservative students can, they can feel safe, they can feel like they have a voice, they can meet and form connections with people of similar ideas to them. And as I said before, I also think it does create a way for students from different political sides of the political aisle to get together and share their ideas.
Reactions nationally and on the TU campus have been mixed, with some students expressing concern about the organization's ideology and what it represents.
I think that if they feel underrepresented, they should make themselves represented, and I think they should absolutely start an organization that does that. But TPUSA does not do that. That is not what the function of TPUSA is. They, as I said, they're here to agitate. They're here to blow things out of proportion, to get us in national news, to harass people. If you want a club for conservatives, start a conservatives club. You can go there, you can share ideas with each other, you can invite guest speakers, do whatever you want, but don't do it under the banner of TPUSA.
The Turning Point USA website features a category called the Professor Watch List, which highlights professors the organization seeks to, quote, expose and document who discriminate against conservative students and advance leftist propaganda in the classroom, end quote. On the website, visitors can search for teachers based on categories such as socialism, racial ideology, protests, LGBTQ+, diversity, equity, and inclusion, COVID-19, and more. Each entry includes the professor's photo, name, university, department, and allegations about statements, research, social media posts, or classroom behavior. As of March 2026, the University of Tulsa has one professor listed on the website. Critics say the list targets academics and can expose them to harassment. Here again is Orsini.
Other professors are on there for stuff like, supporting Palestine, criticizing Israel, criticizing the Trump administration, supporting, Medicare for all. And honestly, a lot of people are on there just for doing their job, which is teaching a sort of objective view that to, someone who's very far right-wing might not seem objective, but rather as left-wing propaganda.
Similarly, the TPUSA's Dean's List is a search engine for colleges that includes a graded score that, quote, utilizes a fine-tuned algorithm to analyze each university based on its values and beliefs, end quote. The score is divided into categories such as mandated equity, inclusion, and diversity training for staff, bias reporting system or bias response system, ratio of right-leaning clubs to left-leaning clubs, denied Turning Point USA chapter, in-state tuition for illegal immigrants, boycotting, divesting, and sanctioning Israel, masks and vaccine mandates, and more. The minimum score a university can receive is an F, and the maximum is an A+, determined on how they reach the overall criteria. 5 universities across Oklahoma can be found on this list, with the University of Central Oklahoma receiving a B+, Oklahoma State University, Oral Roberts University, and the University of Oklahoma receiving a D+, and the University of Tulsa receiving a D-. Here again is Orsini.
I'm worried about them inciting violence, honestly. We just before, literally days before the TPUSA chapter came to SGA to get chartered, was the incident at OU with Samantha Fulnicki and the transgender graduate student who gave her a bad grade on an assignment that she did not fulfill the requirements for and objectively should have gotten a 0 for. But the presence of TPUSA on campus gave Samantha Fulnicki an out and the ability to turn this simple grade into a national news story that everyone was talking about and get that person harassed and fired, and a lot of hate towards them. So I'm worried about their ability to do similar things on this campus. If a professor gives a student a grade they don't like, they can run to the TPUSA club, say, hey, run this up the chain, let's get this on Fox News. And suddenly the University of Tulsa is in a national media spotlight, and is forced to either capitulate to the demands of right-wingers or support their staff and face further backlash. Regardless, the university faces backlash. So all that TPUSA does, in my mind, is just create controversy and agitate.
Nationally, Turning Point USA has sparked debate over initiatives like the Professor Watch List and campus activism. Here again is Rabinovitz.
I would just say that, national controversy, I would just say I view it the same as any sort of criticism local as well. It's just people with different ideas, different views on things, who, levy their opinions against members of the organization. And I would just like to say a couple of things. Firstly is that, all the members of Turning Point at Tulsa, all the admins, all the speakers that come on campus, we're all just individuals with our own ideas and thoughts. And so, I think that the way you reconcile those controversies is you just have a discussion. You talk with people, let them share their concerns, maybe try to find some sort of middle ground, some sort of way to just find some way to help both sides understand where they're coming from. Any criticisms that people have with the organization, I think they're more than willing to bring to us, and we can talk it out.
As a newly chartered club, the chapter is in the early stages of establishing itself and engaging with the campus community.
We just got chartered last semester, the Turning Point admins, and they're still trying to figure out how they're going to work and operate within the Tulsa system and with its student body. So they're still kind of figuring that out. In terms of political engagement, just to provide an example, we tabled at the Student Activities Fair, and we had a lot of students coming up to our table and just sort of asking us questions, looking for our perspectives on certain issues, from racial inequality to immigration, and even things like water rights for farmers. And so, the way that we engage politically with students is just through that civil, open discussion.
Episodes of Prove Me Wrong can be found on the website's homepage. Prove Me Wrong is a style of campus debate associated with conservative commentator Steven Crowder, who spread the format online through his show Louder with Crowder. Variation of these debates have since been used by some campus activists and student groups, including members of Turning Point USA. These table talks usually include a participant sitting at a table in a public space, often a campus quad or student center, with a sign displaying a political or social statement. Those who pass by are invited to challenge the statement and debate the person at the table. As of March 2026, there have not been any explicit Prove Me Wrong debates on the University of Tulsa campus. Here again is Orsini.
Yeah, a lot of people probably just think that their unfounded concerns. Like, well, you can say that TPUSA is bringing talented rhetoricians to publicly dunk on college students who, don't have 10 years of experience debating on a stage about political topics that they're very well versed in talking points for. But then they will also say, just invite a left-winger who does that. And TPUSA also, when they were getting chartered, they said, we would invite speakers of all political ideologies, which, regardless of how true that is or not, they certainly will not. I think a lot of left-wing figures would not come to a college campus if they were invited by TPUSA, frankly. But even if they do get some people, I doubt they are getting the same level of people as they are getting for the right-wingers. People like Matt Walsh, Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, who make their livings doing this. They would just get, I don't know, I can't even think of a suitable person that they might invite.
As the chapter begins organizing at the University of Tulsa, reactions across campus remain mixed. For many students, the conversation surrounding the chapter reflects larger questions about political expression, dialogue, and the role of student organizations in shaping campus life. For Focus, Black Oklahoma, I'm Jess Grimes in Tulsa.
You're listening to Focus Black Oklahoma. In part 2 of an interview with Micah Peel, Vice President of Spring Creek Coalition, FBO's Roma Carter continues her exploration on why the Arkansas-based chicken poultry industry thrives on Oklahoma lands and highlights sustainable ways rural citizens are maintaining their land.
As we heard last month, residual manure produced from the massive chicken poultry industry leaves dangerous and lasting impacts on land pollution and quality of water. Since the industry boomed a decade ago in northeast Oklahoma, levels of phosphorus have dramatically increased in Spring Creek, one of the only pristine creeks located in the state. Yet some proactive groups are working to preserve this waterway as best as possible. Micah Peel and Spring Creek Coalition work to remedy the land in any way they can. Much of the work towards creating a sustainable environment for Oklahoma farmers begins at a rudimentary level. Appeal highlights how the culture of farming doesn't function the way it has traditionally.
You talk to local people, especially people with cattle, they want the poultry litter. And I understand that because the problem is they're trying to get nitrogen from poultry litter. And poultry litter is not like a lot of other manures. And so incentivizing, let's find other fertilizers. I don't want anything negative to happen to the ranchers. I know they need to be able to fertilize their ground, and they're just using what's the most affordable thing right now. And so I think there's got to be ways of demonstrating to the ranchers that there are other ways of managing your grassland than just applying poultry litter, because it's just sometimes when you get in this pattern, that's just what everyone does. That's what they do historically. That's what they keep on doing. But there are other ways that are less damaging to the water. A lot of people think, oh, the creek is fine. It's totally fine. Just like there's people that think the climate is totally fine, because they think it snowed, how could there be global warming? And so there is that sense they think, oh, the creek is still flowing. I see some fish. It's healthy. It's fine. And so, they're not seeing the data of the phosphorus levels continue to climb. They're not seeing the studies that show what phosphorus does to the creek. So it's hard. There's a lot of education that needs to happen about what's going on.
Appeal further states his frustration with poultry corporations' refusal to have a serious conversation with inhabitants of rural northeast Oklahoma.
Still, what I don't understand because these are people with families, these are people with kids, these are people that live, life out there. Unfortunately, they don't live on the creek. And so it's easier, I guess, for some people to feel like it's not their problem. What they don't see doesn't affect them. So if they're not seeing what we're seeing here, they're not going to be motivated to do anything. They are unfortunately blinded by profit. And so they don't see, even Simmons took out that full page ad in Tulsa World in response to the Illinois River lawsuit. And they said how good things are, how the rivers is less polluted and how they've done all this work. And so that's what they tell themselves. They tell themselves they're not polluting the creek. They tell themselves that they're doing good work. They tell themselves that they're providing jobs in rural Oklahoma. They're providing cheap protein to the rest of the world through extremely cheap chicken. They have to tell themselves something. And so, if the phosphorus levels go up in this little creek in Oklahoma, we're doing all this good work other places. We're feeding the world. And so the profit is their main goal. They are not concerned with what it does to our waters. And it's really sad that our legislators are not concerned about our waters. It baffles me, because how could we not be concerned about keeping water clean? It makes no sense. It's such a short-sighted thing of like, let's make quick profits. Let's destroy this beautiful ecosystem for generations. I know money is so powerful, but clean water is so much more valuable.
Members of Spring Creek Coalition have seen the degradation of Spring Creek, which was a clear water stream and now is an algae-infested waterway tainted with phosphorus and nitrates. Although Appeal struggles with these larger corporations ignoring the issue of water contamination, Spring Creek community members work proactively to contribute to the restoration of the waterways as best they can.
A project that we're excited about coming up is we are looking at river cane. So river cane is a lot of cultural significance to indigenous people. It's used a lot for like basket making, blow darts. It has a very deep significant and spiritual connection for indigenous people. So what we're wanting to do is try to figure out a way to get more river cane planted along the creek. What's awesome about river cane, one, it protects the riparian zone, protects against erosion, but it also helps clean the creek. It actually does take phosphorus out of the creek. So it would have this like really positive effect. So yeah, we're kind of like thinking of any which way, like how can we, not just be complacent, not just sit by. Let's think of what are some other ways we can figure out to deal with this problem. And so we're thinking, okay, these are things that we can do here on the creek that could help. So that's something positive that we're trying to work on. We're just really looking out for the creek, for the health of the creek, because unfortunately our government is not doing that.
For Focus Black Oklahoma, I'm Roma Carter in Delaware County.
Baseball has long been known as America's pastime, but when you look closely at who's playing the game and where they come from, the picture is far more global than many fans might expect. In the World Baseball Classic, national teams from around the world take the field, with players representing countries across Latin America, Asia, Europe, and North America. The contrast between a global tournament built around national identity and a professional league rooted in American sports culture reveals a shifting demographic about baseball itself. FBO's Phil Childs explores how the World Baseball Classic showcases baseball's international reach.
Spring break for baseball fans comes stamped in 2 passports, one Major League Baseball, one World Baseball Classic, or WBC. Major League rosters today are a blend of backgrounds and baseball cultures, sometimes overlapping, sometimes colliding, and the World Baseball Classic sits right at the center of that story. Who's on the field? Where do they come from? And why does this global tournament still matter in 2026? Baseball remains global, and the numbers prove it. On opening day last year, 265 MLB players were born outside the 50 U.S. states, representing nearly 28% of the league and spanning 18 countries and territories: the Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Canada, Japan, and Mexico all continue to shape the sports talent pipeline. But culture isn't just a roster line, it's lived every day. In clubhouses, on backfields, and in academies across Latin America and the Caribbean, the game is shaped by music, language, family, and pride. And while diversity is visible, researchers note the difference between representation and equity, especially for international Latino players navigating language, development pathways, and careers. All of this sets the stage for the WBC, a tournament where eligibility is rooted not just in birthplace, but in heritage. That's how cross-cultural teams like Israel, Italy, and the Czech Republic have emerged and surprised the world. One player who felt that collision of heritage, identity, and competition is Andrew Gross, a former sidearm reliever who represented Team Israel in the 2023 World Baseball Classic. His pathway wasn't traditional, but the experience left a lasting mark.
The World Baseball Classic, man, I mean, it's something like none other. I mean, it's an event that can't go away. It's always going to keep a special place in my heart. It can't ever go away, and it's got to remain there as a way to kind of bring cultures together, because I think we all need that more now than ever. And just embracing everybody the same way. And that's really what I believe the WBC is about.
Which takes us to the WBC itself, its origin story, its highs, and the data that says it still moves people. The World Baseball Classic, launched in 2006 as the sport's first true global championship, created by Major League Baseball, the Players Association, and the sport's international governing body. Its purpose was simple: give baseball a consistent, fully representative world tournament that the calendar could actually support. Unlike the Olympics, where baseball has been added and removed multiple times, the WBC is permanent and features the best professional players. Olympic baseball is restricted by roster rules, scheduling conflicts, and the absence of many MLB stars who can't leave mid-season. The WBC, held generally every 4 years, was built to fix that. Full MLB participation, heritage-based eligibility, and competitive national teams that truly reflect the global game. So, does the World Baseball Classic still matter in 2026? The 2023 edition answered with a resounding yes. It broke attendance records, shattered global viewership marks, and delivered some of the sport's most memorable moments. And the crowds weren't just large, they were electric. In-person attendance surged across Miami, Phoenix, Tokyo, and Taichung, filling stadiums with playoff energy months before the MLB postseason even started. Here again is Andrew Gross.
I remember my mom standing on a chair because everyone stands 24/7. It's like the Super Bowl, like nobody sits down. And, she had to stand on a chair to even watch, and all these Dominican people around her started cheering for me and stuff. And, I only pitched 1 inning, but it's like they had my back in that inning, and that's something I respect. I have a undying appreciation for all those Latin American fans, man. They're diehard baseball fans.
These are not just regular games. For many, it's the thrill of wearing a flag on your chest, hearing your national anthem, and feeling a global tournament atmosphere. Exhibitions against MLB clubs, packed domes abroad, and a unique blend of playoff intensity and festival energy. For Alex Katz, a former left-handed pitcher who represented Team Israel in the World Baseball Classic in both 2017 and 2023, and in the 2020 Summer Olympics. The WBC is rooted in pride, identity, and a sense of responsibility that goes far beyond the box score.
It's a huge responsibility to represent your school and your team or whatever organization you're with, or even your professional baseball organization. There's nothing bigger than representing a country.
In 2026, the WBC's impact goes beyond wins and losses. Major League Baseball's player pool is nearly 28% internationally born, with dozens of nationalities represented, and the Classic both reflects that reality and reinforces it. It's a magnet for new fans, a mirror of global roots, and a reminder that baseball's story is bigger than any one country. The WBC also elevates the human side of the game: heritage, language, pride, and the chance to represent who you are, not just where you play. And for young players dreaming of wearing their country's colors one day, Alex offers simple advice.
If you want something, go get it. And you got to chip away every single day. You can't build Roma in one night. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. So if you really want something, you have to put your mind and effort towards that goal.
From Santo Domingo to Seoul, from Miami to Tokyo, the diamond is crowded with stories. MLB's demographics say the game is global. The cultures say it's shared. And the WBC, records, noise, and all, says it still matters. For Focus, Black Oklahoma, I'm Phil Childs in Dallas, Texas.
Thanks for joining us on Focus Black Oklahoma. Would you like to pitch a story to FBO?
Or work with us as a correspondent?
Please email us at contact@focusblackoklahoma.com.
Or call 918-807-3886.
For many women, menopause marks a major transition, one that can bring physical changes, emotional shifts, and a new understanding of their bodies. But despite how common the experience is, conversations about menopause often remain quiet, private, or even stigmatized. For Sondra Slade, the journey into menopause brought unexpected challenges. Her story is one of adjustment, reflection, and learning to speak openly about an experience shared by millions of women.
You've heard the saying, growing old gracefully? And I'm like, oh, hell no. I'm going to fight it with every fiber in my body. But ultimately, we know gravity is undefeated unless you plan on going under the knife. And I don't plan on doing that. I never really noticed the aging. I mean, yeah, I see some lines. I don't walk with a super burst of energy, and my eating habits have changed. But I haven't really embraced getting older. I knew it was coming, but since I wasn't feeling any of the normal strains, I just let it wander to the back of my mind, to get lost, just like when I walk in a room and forget what I was going in there for. You've heard the saying, black don't crack. I mean, it spreads, which is why I keep working out. Well, I was hosting a bi-monthly show in TPUSA at a wonderful speakeasy. You know, the kind with a buzzer and intercom. Long steps you have to take up to the bar and seating area with deep dark wood and that same bourbon wood all around the bar. Smelling like a mix of premium cigars, top shelf whiskey, and mounds of salted mixed nuts in bowls. The sturdy wood chairs and small tables, some high, some low, all fitting into this jazzy area. The low lighting enhancing the intimate feel. The stage was not large enough for more than 2 people, but it was high enough that it was visible from every seat in the house. The drinks were flowing and laughter was coming from everyone in the house. The comedy show was in full effect and everyone was having a good time. Well, except me. I was noticing it was getting hotter and hotter. Granted, this was the end of February, so it wasn't hot, but it wasn't super cold either. I was introducing the next comedian and I could just taste the cold basil lemonade I had ordered earlier. After downing the lemonade, I ordered another and sat down to enjoy the show. I rolled up one of the show flyers and fanned myself. I got up to introduce the next comedian and took a bottle of water to the back when I left the stage. Sitting down next to my friend Heather, I asked her if they had turned up the heat, and I was about to ask them to turn it down. Heather looked at me and said, honey, you the only one hot in here. I said, how could I be so hot? Heather looked at me and said, dear, how old are you? It may be about that time. I told her, no ma'am, I wasn't old enough, while continually fanning myself. The way she said perimenopause sounded like it was a gift. This made me mad and even hotter. After the show was over and everyone was leaving, I walked to my car without my jacket on and drove home with the windows open. I should have known that I was reaching that phase while hosting the Jazz Fest. There was sweat dripping from my knees. At least I was hoping it was just sweat. Cynthia, a local jazz artist, told me, oh honey, it's just perimenopause. This just enraged me more and made me hotter. I started using so many sticky notes, I could keep a pad with me just so I could write things down and not slow me down. A male friend of mine told me I just need to drink more water. I told him I am not his busted car that needs some antifreeze. I was sitting outside on my porch one day having a good talk with my adult son, Jomari. We talked about his apartment, his job, how good he was feeling about getting around Dallas. Generally a grown-up conversation that made me think how glad I was he was my son. After we got done talking, I sat there a few moments more, and all of a sudden tears filled my eyes. My friend Cheryl called me, and I told her what was happening. And she asked if it was a good talk. I told her it was a great talk with my son, but I was also getting forgetful. She said, dear, go see your doctor and tell them what is going on with you. I said I would, hung up and made an appointment. I was back outside after setting the appointment and watched the squirrels playing and started making up a whole background for them. Mossy, the extra fluffy one, was having a bad day and was looking around for more food. And Daryl was being extra feisty and selfish. He knew that Mossy was heavier and it took him a bit more time to find nuts. Mossy grabbed Daryl by the tail and they got too fussy. I didn't know that squirrels actually talked. As I was explaining this to my daughter, I could see the slow look of confusion on her face. She looked at me while I wiped away the tears. She asked me who I was talking about, and I pointed to Daryl as he was running to the other tree. She nodded and walked back into the house. I sat there laughing as I saw another squirrel I called Lucy grabbing some seeds for her nest while the others weren't looking. As I sat on the porch, I could hear my daughter talking to my son. I could make out that they faintly were discussing me and putting me in some kind of hotel. I think now they were saying older folks home, and my son called me back and asked if I was okay. I told him yes, I was still sitting outside from when he talked earlier, and the squirrels were just making me laugh. Oh, okay, Mom. Take care of yourself. After my appointment, I was feeling a little better. I was to try the meds for at least 2 weeks and report how I was feeling, if I noticed any changes. I was happy things started to work because I know my kids were 2 seconds off of calling the people on me. They keep telling me that you just have to find the right cocktail mix to ease it. At this point, I'm willing to try all the liquors together. So yes, I'm growing older, wiser, and forgetful all at the same time. As I'm processing this, it makes me wonder, all this for a damn apple?
I love stories, both writing my own and sharing other people's. Sometimes, sharing my fictional stories can make me feel a little bit silly, but my associates at Focus Black Oklahoma helped me feel a little less awkward as I rant on about my passions while editing audio behind the scenes. Interning at FBO is one of many things that helps me fulfill that creative and informational outlet of mine. Working with radio, film, and comics, I love it all. Yet another Booker T. Washington graduate, my name is Jess Grimes, and as I further my education at the University of Tulsa, I'm excited to use the skills learned at FBO to pursue my film and English degree. Look out for my short films one day, and check out my art account, Jester_comics. That's JESSTER_COMIX on Instagram.com.
Focus Black Oklahoma is produced in partnership with KOSU Radio and Tri-City Collective. Additional support is provided by the Commemoration Fund and Press Forward. Our theme music is by Moffat Music.
Focus Black Oklahoma's executive producers are Quresh Ali Lansana and Bracken Clark. Our associate producers are Jesse Ulrich and Naomi Agnew. Our production interns are Alexander Evans, Jess Grimes, Roma Carter, and Anna Wilson.
You can visit us online at kosu.org or focusblackoklahoma.com and on YouTube at Tri-City Collective OK. You can follow us on Instagram at FocusBlackOK and on Facebook at facebook.com/FocusBlackOK.com. You can hear Focus Black Oklahoma on demand at kosu.org, the NPR app, npr.org, or wherever you get your podcasts.
KOSU Business Circle memberships are ideal for small businesses looking to support public radio and get a little bit of airtime. To learn how your business can become a member, email development@kosu.org.